Welcome back to Ritual Bloodborne. Still in Old Yarnum. No offense to From Software, but I feel like this area probably shouldn't have been mandatory. And technically speaking, it's not. The Hunter Chief emblem that we saw in the store opens up an alternate path into Cathedral Ward so that you don't have to go here. But it costs 10,000 blood echoes, and unless you have been saving up quite a pretty penny and not spending your souls on leveling up and all that stuff, that's pretty costly for the beginning of the game, and kind of sucks. I felt like I should mention that at the beginning of this episode because that right there is our destination. So we won't be palling around here for much longer. I just feel like it's a kind of strange distraction almost from the main plot of the game so far. You know, we were very close to the Grand Cathedral and our destination to receive our healing treatment, so to speak. But now we're here in Old Yarnum, palling around here with the beasts because, I don't know, because Gehrman said so. And so I feel like this would have been better served as an area that is, you know, strictly optional instead of mostly optional. I like Old Yarnum, but I do feel like the amount of beasts they throw at you is maybe a little high. Thankfully, we've got our hammer to pound them into the dirt. And hey, it's a shortcut. Although not much of one. We still have to run through the first area with the Gatling gun guy in order to get there, so not too extremely helpful considering all it skips is that open area, but at least we can avoid aggroing all those guys on the way back should I die. I appreciate how poorly cared for Old Yarnum seems to be. Even compared to Central Yarnum, which is in a state of disrepair already, Old Yarnum is crumbling into the river that it sits atop, so you can tell that nobody has come back here in quite some time. There are no caretakers besides the Gatling gun guy, I guess. I think the Hunter's Torch was a pretty well-placed item. Like, obviously because the beasts are afraid of it, but also because it does approximately as much damage as your weapons are probably going to do at that time. We're down in the valley now, and it's getting pretty dark down here. If you ever played Bloodborne, if you haven't already, or haven't played it this way, oh, hello! I recommend you play it with the game set to the minimum brightness level, because right now I've got it set at whatever the default is, but playing it at the minimum brightness level really helps. It really helps the atmosphere, I feel. So yeah, welcome to the Valley Hamlet Gehrman spoke of. Very strange occult dealings going on here. Especially going by the hanging bodies in the shape of a very strange symbol, one that might be a bit familiar to you if you were paying attention to my inventory in the first episode. See, while the corpses have their own weird flavor to them, what with the skin cape thing, they also are in the shape of the Hunter's Mark, which is very interesting. I'm not sure why that is. I don't know if there's any real reason why that is. Okay, we're not going that way then. Fair enough. It's a very weird way to lay out a city. It seems like they started at the bottom of the valley and worked their way up, with the way up to Cathedral Ward being the exit, with the entrance being who knows where. Very strange. Again, as with Central Yarnum, there don't seem to be very many, like, actual houses that you can enter, or that a human reasonably could enter. Lots of very tall, imposing buildings, and more creepy statues, but Old Yarnum doesn't really seem like a town, or I guess a hamlet, so much as it does a collection of buildings where people, I guess, could live if they took a pickaxe to the wall every time they wanted to. That's not fooling anyone. You get down from there. Anyway, I guess my point is, it doesn't really seem like a place where people would want to live. But maybe they had no other choice. Maybe some event forced them from their homes and they had to come settle down in Yarnum before Cathedral Ward and Central Yarnum existed. The Kirk hammer looks a bit silly, like it's just duct taped to your back. Oh, hello. The weapons in this game, they carry over a legacy problem from Dark Souls, where they don't really have, like, sheaths, or, like, any way they would logically be connected to your body. And I get why, because, I mean, you can wear any combination of any equipment, and so making all that stuff animate well and look good with every combination of equipment is probably way too hard to be worth doing. But, I have to admit, it looks a bit silly that the Kirk hammer seems like it's made of styrofoam, just kind of taped to your character's back when you're not wielding it. It has no weight to it. Looks a bit weird, is all. So I mentioned this in Central Yarnum, but shortcuts in this game are often tiered in a way, where in the middle of a level, you will get a shortcut back to a slightly earlier portion of the level, but when you reach the end of the level, you'll get a shortcut right back to the beginning. And that's what we have just done. That door I just opened there leads to approximately where we found the Hunter's Torch, way back at the start of the area. So, if I die, it is not a very long journey back. We don't have to fight all those werewolves again. Although at this point, the werewolves are more of a minor concern, really. Ew. Hello. Oh boy. So, glowing eyes in this game are an indicator that an enemy can poison you. So if you spot an enemy that has glowing red eyes, you probably want to steer clear of them because they will be slightly less kind to you than their normal variant will be. I don't know if I like that noise. That noise is a little bit intimidating. Oh, okay, it's just one of these guys being a creeper. I really like that. I don't know. I really like that noise because, like, we've heard them make that noise when we're fighting them before, but when it's just, like, on its own, like, completely divorced from the enemies themselves, no enemy coming to beat you up, it's a lot creepier. I really like the noises that the enemies make in this game. They're very intimidating, frightening, almost. I wouldn't say that Bloodborne is a horror game, but I would say that it's close enough, I guess. I guess that's how I would describe it. This game, okay, I'll say this. This game is not a horror game, but it does have frightening elements in it. It has stuff that makes you go, bleh. And I'm not just talking about big spiders or whatever. It's in the atmosphere. I mean, look at where we are right now. Look at what we're doing. If you were in this situation, every part of your mind and body would probably be screaming at you to just turn around and walk away. But it's like Gehrman said, there is a chalice awaiting us at the bottom of the Valley Hamlet. And I'm not leaving without it. I've got a question for you. Do you frighten easily? Because it's like I said, Bloodborne can be a pretty scary game. Are you easily grossed out? Could you play a game like Dead Space? Or similar? No reason why I'm asking. Just wondering. So this horrible creature, wearing its nice, wonderful flesh cape, is the blood-starved beast. And it is a major stopgap for a lot of players. Unless you think logically. You see, my friends, an important thing about the blood-starved beast is that it's blood-starved. And it is your first introduction to thinking outside the box. Blood-starved beast is very aggressive. Its attacks don't hurt you too badly, but it can do poison damage on contact. Like, any hit, no matter what, will build up your poison damage. Like that. And because it attacks very fast, you get poisoned pretty quick in this fight. And so, this fight encourages you to think a little bit about what you're doing and the items that you have been picking up, to try and use them creatively. And obviously such a creature would be attracted by blood cocktails. Wait, did I just die? Wait. I feel like that was a little bit rude, to cut me off in the middle of my explanation. So that'll happen sometimes. You might have noticed that what happened there was that I was not grabbed by that grab attack, it just teleported me into it. And that is a very common theme with grab attacks in Bloodborne. It seems like they were an afterthought in game design. They were put there because the boss not having a grab attack would make the fight a little bit less unique. It would give the boss one less move that you can look at and go, oh shit, I better not get hit by that. And so bosses have grab attacks, but the hitboxes on the grab attacks are not very well defined. And so you end up with stuff like that, with the blood-starved beast, like, jumping through my attack and then teleporting me into his hands. So, okay. This time, no playing around. Those blood cocktails that I mentioned are extremely useful against this boss, because they can completely neutralize him. The speedrunner's way of defeating him is to use the saw cleaver or the saw spear, put fire on your weapon, use a beast blood pellet, which we will talk about a little bit more in the future, and throw a blood cocktail in the corner, and then just wail on him. He won't even try to attack you. And you can just kill him in like 30 seconds. I really like this fight. This fight is... This is definitely the most aggressive boss we've fought so far. Because, I mean, it runs and dives all over the place in its attempts to murder you. And also, in the final stage of the fight, it gains the ability to do a poison AoE attack, that is very dangerous. And so it kind of shows you, you know, this is how aggressive the enemies in this game will be. Good luck. But I'm kind of tired of looking at its dumb, gross, fleshy cape thing. The flesh of its back, stretched over its head in a strange form of sacrifice or perhaps prayer to the chalice that we have finally picked up. We got what we came here for, and now I am ready to leave. Ugh. I wonder if those are drapes or more flesh. I also wonder what this statue is. There's no, like, explanation for this statue. Very strange. You may notice that the ground that the statue is sitting on seems a bit loose. We'll talk a little bit more about that in the future. For now, let's head back to the Hunter's Dream for some perhaps well-needed respite. Oh, it's good to be home. We've amassed quite a number of souls from our terrifying experience with the blood-starved beast. But before we do anything with those, let's go talk to Gehrman and see what he has to say about the chalice.
The healing church and the blood ministers who belong to it were once guardians of the hunters in the times of the hunter Ludwig. They worked and forged weapons in their unique workshop. Today, most ministers don't recall the hunters, but they have much to offer you. And so, heed the message of your forebears. Ascend to Erden Chapel.
Huh. Well, I guess now that we have the chalice, he doesn't much care about it anymore. I guess his goal was to get us to find the thing, not, you know, eke a reaction out of him. So that is interesting. We've already been to Odin Chapel, and there is a locked door in there. Although I wonder what he meant by forebears. Maybe he means himself. Who knows? Gonna stop using the Kirkhammer now, because boy, I sure am tired of it. The Kirkhammer is nice, but it's not my preferred weapon, so we're gonna be going back to the Saw Cleaver for now. See if they got anything new for me over here. Ah, why not? You know, we've got the insight, we may as well spend it. I really like Gascoigne's clothes. I feel like they are one of the better outfits in this game. I especially like the gloves, because the gloves are unique in that they allow you to see the long-sleeved version of each of the outfits. Because whereas most of the glove-related, most of the hand slot pieces of clothing are like heavy gloves with the big open sleeves, but Gascoigne's are just like wrapped around the hands. I don't know, I just think that's kind of neat. Debating on what to do with the Kirkhammer. Because, I mean, I'm not going to use it again, so I might as well get rid of it. Again, I'm sure more Souls game fans are crying out in agony right now. You know, all in all, I think Old Yarnum doesn't overstay its welcome. It is not the it's one of the longer areas that we've been to so far, but it's not so long that it gets old, I think. Bloodstarved Beast is a good finale to the
echoes become your strength.
To the relatively not
Let me stand close.
not necessarily all that dangerous, but like thrilling, I guess, area. Because it's like I said, the enemies don't hit very hard, but they come in large numbers. And so, while they're not particularly threatening, it is still an interesting change of pace. That said, I'm excited to get back to relative normalcy.
Over time, it all. Farewell, good hunter. May you find your worth in the waking world.
Amen. I'll see you all next time, when we head back to Cathedral Ward, and finally get this show on the road. Far below Yarnum, deep underground and running beneath the lake in the nearby mountains and beyond, lie a seemingly infinite series of labyrinths. These dungeons are full of secrets, the likes of which nobody outside of the church is even aware of, or maybe could even comprehend. At one point, long ago, the church explored the dungeons by sending in adventurers referred to as tomb prospectors. Most of them never came back, but those that did brought fascinating and invaluable information on the Eldritch Truth. What this Eldritch Truth is mostly lost to time, but the church and their fellow factions did uncover more substantial secrets within the labyrinths, not just physical entities, but ancient rites that could be performed using ritual chalices. These chalices, found in the deepest depths, were used to travel even further out of Yarnum and into the nearby Hintertombs and the realm of Loran. Long ago, there existed a civilization that predates any relevant age of man, the Thumerians. They were allegedly a race of superhumans that lived in the area that Yarnum now occupies, and were the constructors of the Chalice dungeons. Legend goes that they discovered the very same Eldritch Truth the Church now seeks, and the dungeons were created to hide it away. But with enough persistence, even the meager tomb prospectors could uncover secrets the Thumerians expected to be hidden for eternity. In the game, we've just received the first of these chalices. There are 4 of them, each with several permutations scattered across the game world. The one we just picked up takes us to the upper crust of the Thumerian dungeons beneath Old Yarnum. We can travel through the Thumerian dungeon chain, collecting materials to create new chalice rituals, and proceed further down. The goal is to eventually reach the bottom of the Thumerian dungeons and find whatever it is they hid down there. I'll be sharing with you what secrets the dungeons contain, but I'm not going to be doing them in this playthrough. Because of the spiders. You see, there are spiders in this game. Big ones. Huge ones even. I am terrified by spiders, and I don't want to subject myself to them any more than I have to. There are enemies in the Chalice dungeons that spawn infinite spiders with infinite aggro range until you kill them, and I'm not about that life. So what you see here is all the footage of the Chalice dungeons themselves that you're gonna get. From here on, I'll only be showing footage of the important stuff while I explain what's going on. Believe me, you do not want to experience giant spiders raining down on your head like I have. We'll get more into the story of the Thumerians later on, but for now, just know that they are long gone, and only the effects of what they did while Yarnum was their homeland remain. So, it seems we now know what all those hanging bodies and burning pyres are effigies to. At the bottom of Old Yarnum, a beast that craved more of the town's tainted blood was born from the ashen blood sickness, and it was far too strong to be defeated by mere men. To deal with this problem, the church called upon the Powder Kegs, a radical group of hunters who dabbled in creating explosive weaponry and firearms. This was back in the days when the Hunter's Workshop was still operational and steadily churning out new equipment. However, they became known as the Workshop Heretics and were banned from accessing the tools the church provided because, as it turns out, unleashing a bunch of wackos running around with explosives made for a less than ideal cleanup. It might be part of the reason why Old Yarnum is in such a sorry state of disrepair. One powder keg stayed behind to watch over the beasts, still seeing them as former humans instead of flesh-hungry, poisonous creatures. He fired many bullets at us from his Gatling gun. His name is Jura, and who knows, we might run into him again someday. Either way, the powder keg's attempt to clean up Old Yarnum was obviously an utter failure, but personally, I have my doubts that the church was all that interested in protecting its people. At the very bottom of Old Yarnum, we found the Thumerian Chalice, one of the more important Chalice dungeon entrances. As I mentioned in the previous bonus feature, the history of the Thumerians is very important to the church, and the idea of losing it to beasts probably upset them. The Thumerian dungeons are already directly below Yarnum, but there's no way to get to them without a chalice. Good thing we have it now. And so, Old Yarnum continues to burn into the night. It was a dead end, but as the sun sets, maybe a new path will open up back in Cathedral Ward. We'll find the church yet, and then maybe we'll get some answers.